if your organization is thinking about doing dynamic ad insertion for addressable TV targeted advertising, what's the time frame? On this one, we got 54% said not really looking at doing addressable target advertising. Again, part of this goes back to groups who are in government, groups who are in education that don't add advertising into their content itself. But even across the board, if we take the other half, we only have a limited number who say that they're already using addressable targeted advertising or dynamic advertising. Obviously, in the past, we've had CSAI, client side ad insertion, which there was always that battle of the ad blockers versus the new technologies to keep the
Yep.
ad blockers from working. The industry has sort of shifted toward SSAI, server side ad insertion, which traditionally had been stitching an ad into the middle of content. But we've progressed to the point where that is technically and experientially possible to dynamically target ads. Why do you sense that it's sort of still not caught the industry by storm, especially for those who rely on advertising for the revenue piece?
Yeah, this continues to surprise me. Through all the time I've been, in this space, I've either been in the ad tech space or been adjacent to ad tech, or been the guy in the team that understood ad tech. Um, and just how slow the industry as a whole has been moving to targeted ads has surprised me. And I think there's a lot of different factors at play there. One is sheer momentum. You've got this giant organization in place that's been here for decades at this point, that's really built around selling and producing advertising inventory in a certain way. And it's all right, we're going to take a look at Nielsen demographics, and we're going to estimate who might be watching this particular channel at a particular time. And there's a lot of vested interest in keeping that going. um, and I think that people truly don't understand how it is that this works, and why it's better. I think it's an education issue. I ran into this over and over again being in the ad tech space, about having to explain the basics of how it works and why it works. The other side of that is there's some reticence to utilize subscriber data. So a lot of the conversations that I would have when I was in the ad tech space with MVPDs, or really anyone that was looking to do dynamic advertising, is how safe is my subscriber data when I'm doing this? How ethical is it for me to utilize data in this way, without really informed consumer consent? And I think there's a lot of material out there to get educated on this space. There's a lot of new technologies to secure and anonymize and protect subscriber data that allows you to target in a safe and ethical way. Um, and I think there's a lot of data out there now that suggests that consumers prefer it. Nobody likes these ads that really just don't apply to them. You tune out, maybe you go get a snack, and for the consumer, maybe they don't notice, but for the person buying or selling that ad inventory, you're not getting the value on your dollar that you are, versus like, let's say, spending $1 on Facebook advertising, where it's extremely personalized. Um,
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. And in fact, kind of what I hear you saying is, if you're going to advertise to me with something that's relevant to me, as opposed
mhm.
to something that's completely irrelevant. Kind of like once you buy something on Amazon, then your web browser shows you that same thing 5 times. After,
Yeah, there needs to be some frequency capping in there.
well, as opposed to showing you the complementary pieces that could go with it. And I think this is true even for those um, OTT services that push themselves as ad free. If you think about Amazon Prime now, it puts one or two ads before you watch an episode of something. And oftentimes it's a jarring juxtaposition of what they're showing you versus what you're planning to watch. My
Yeah.
wife and I had that the other day. We were watching an episode of Downton Abbey, and the two ads that came up before it were like, yeah, no, that's not the kind of thing we would be watching at all. And yet you had to, there was no way to turn that particular thing off. So I agree with you. If you're going to advertise to me, make sure that you're advertising to me with relevancy. And the way you get to that is through what you've described there with the sort of targeted ad insertion.